Hello, my beautiful friends. I am Bleadon-Maffei with Illuminating Souls, welcoming you to this episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, a podcast designed to help you rest, relax, and fall asleep, all while deepening in your connection with your beautiful team of angels who love you so. If we're meeting for the first time, I am an angelic practitioner, a spiritual teacher, and an encourager of souls. And I have the best job ever. I get to spend my days helping you connect with your angels, and I do this through one-on-one angel sessions, which are lovely and take place over the phone. They're an hour long. I say an opening prayer, I use oracle cards, and I channel for you. And the intention is to help you deepen in your divine guidance. And if you're ever guided to book your own angel session, you can contact me or go to my website, illuminatingsouls.com. I also offer soul mentoring, which provides for ongoing, consistent support as you move through a time of growth or transformation. And then I offer a wide variety of classes. Every 6 weeks or so, I have a new class that I bring to you. And my classes are small in size, so we will definitely get an opportunity to get to know each other. And my intention is always to inspire you. So lots of ways we can connect. And I invite you to sign up for my mailing list at my website, and then you'll be in the know of everything I have going on. But for now, it is truly my joy and honor to be here with you to help you come into a lovely place of rest where you can replenish, where you can be in loving community, even though right now it is the experience that the two of us are having together. You are also plugged into a community of other beautiful kindreds who are with you on this journey of trying to make the world a little bit brighter, day by day, moment by moment. So as I record this, like usual, it is early morning. And it feels so quiet. You know, for the past few weeks, there's been a bird who has been chirping, singing outside in our neighborhood, and I don't hear them today. I didn't hear them yesterday either. I miss their song, but I am appreciating the stillness of this moment. And I really want to share it with you because I don't think we have enough moments of stillness these days. The world is in perpetual motion, and between text messages and emails, it seems as if we are always invited in to participate in some kind of conversation that requires our attention. And so to be in this stillness right now is simply lovely. I record these podcasts at my desk, in my office, in our home, and there's a window right in front of me. And my view is of our neighbor's home. Now, I can't see into their home, I just mean I see the structure of their house, and I see their trees. They love to garden, so it seems as if there is always an abundance of beauty to witness as I look out my window. Right now I'm seeing ivy climbing over a fence. You know, ivy is so tenacious. And it finds its way through the cracks of the fence. And I see its beautiful greenery. I see beautiful trees that for the most part are still right now, except for a very subtle breeze that is moving a few of the top branches ever so slightly. And I love this time of year because there are so many different shades of green. Who knew there could be this many shades of green? So I share with you the sweet energy of stillness as we prepare to join the angels in sanctuary. So I invite you to take some nice deep breaths in and out. I know you breathe all the time, we all do, otherwise we would not be here. But I find that there is a dramatic difference between the automated breath and the intentional breath. So I invite you to take an intentional deep breath in and just release, allowing the love to flow to you now. There is such love flowing through in this moment, and it truly is a blessing to get to share it with you. And the angels are already here, but I'm going to call them forward because I love the ritual of sharing them with you. So let's take another nice deep breath in and release as we gently call ourselves forward into the heart of God. And beautiful angels on high, I rejoice in this opportunity to come together with you in service to all of our beloveds who are listening to this broadcast. Angels, I ask that you join us here and that you bring your energy to each of our beautiful ones listening now. I ask that you infuse this broadcast with waves of love, with healing light, and with inspiration. And dear ones, just take some nice deep breaths in, allowing the angels to bring their energy closer to you. And we invite you to visualize, imagine, allowing it to be so that the space you are in is filling with a soft pink light that is filled with love that has been calibrated just for you. The angels know what is transpiring in your life, and they are here to support you. They are here to help seed your path with goodness, with joy, with comfort, and with understanding. So just breathe, allowing this light to flow through your body and your mind and your spirit. And the angels are sharing this invitation into the beauty of stillness. And they want to clarify that in this moment, it is not important that you become still. Rather, it is the invitation to experience the stillness, the sweetness, the quiet, and restful energies they are bringing to you now. They bring this energy forward to help soothe your nervous system. There is a lot transpiring in the world, that which you are aware of, and perhaps that of which you are unaware in this moment. But as empaths, a part of us continues to scan the horizon, and we feel and process energies beyond what we consciously know. So in this moment, the angels bring forward this beautiful stillness that reflects divine sanctuary, so that you can come into the quiet and allow your nervous system to relax. In this breath, there is love. And in this next breath, there is love. And allow the soothing, comforting light of your angels to be with you now. And I just have to say, I know that perhaps for some of you, you do not feel or sense energy, and that's okay. But often when I am channeling the angels, I get really hot, and I just have to say, right now I am so hot all of a sudden, and it's confirmation for me that this beautiful energy is flowing through. So all you have to do is receive. That's it. Just receive the energy from this beautiful moment. You are extraordinary. Really, you are. You have such a beautiful heart. You care deeply about what is transpiring in the world. You are a source of goodness in this world. And this world is better because you are here. And I am saying a prayer right now for you that your burdens are eased, that your dreams, the best of dreams, come true, that you are filled with inspiration and light and joyful opportunities to go on wonderful adventures. I am holding the light for you that you find your people, that you find your way into enriching, inspiring friendships, partnership, community, collaboration in ways that delight you. I sense that many of us are feeling rather isolated right now. And one of the common themes that I often hear is a desire for community. And so here's to that prayer where we get to come together with others who feel like soul family in the best possible way. And so just breathe and allow your body to receive this sweet, lovely energy. And if you're preparing for sleep, I invite you to cozy on up and snuggle on in. And while you rest, your angels will be with you. They will be taking good care of you. And while you rest, I'm going to roll on into story time for you. And so, as promised, we are going to pick up with our TV Guide issue from December of 1979. I did part 1 in the last episode, and I got us through Tuesday. So we're going to be picking up on Wednesday. And if you didn't hear the last episode, don't worry. You are not missing anything crucial to your enjoyment of this episode. And before I flip open to Wednesday's programming and TV guide, I wanted to share with you some of the streams of consciousness I was plugging into as I contemplated the state of television back then. As I was recording the last episode, I kept referencing how we would have to, as a family, decide what we were watching on our main television. There was one evening where there was a beautiful broadcast of an opera from the New York Met, and I had been a little concerned that we hadn't allowed my mother to watch that on the big television because Happy Days was on. And I really started thinking about that. That is not necessarily an issue that we have anymore, where there are multiple shows airing at the same time, and you have to choose in to which one you're going to experience. You know, these days, if 3 shows are on at the same time, we can record them, we can catch them on a streaming service. There is not a sense of pressure to capture something when it's airing anymore, unless it's a sporting event or some sort of live broadcast that is important. And that was such a big part of the family culture back then. So in our home in 1979, maybe we had a 19-inch television. I don't know that it was much bigger than that. It probably was color. And we had another television in the basement by that point. It may have been black and white or color. I don't really remember. But the prime viewing room in our home was our living room. In our living room, we had a rather long sofa. It might have been about 6 or 7 feet long. Certainly one person could lay down on it and another person could sit at the end. And then there were 2 really comfortable armchairs and another chair in the corner. And there were 5 of us. I think for the most part, my brother would watch TV up in his room. He had his own television up there. There may have been times that he would be in the living room with us, but more often than not, I seem to recall, especially in 1979, that it likely would have been my parents and my sister and I. As a kid, I loved to lay on the floor and watch television. I don't know what it was about the floor. It was very comfortable, and one of my favorite viewing positions was laying on my back with my feet on one of the chairs in the corner and then watching television from that position. So back then, television was a communal activity. And we had to agree on what we would watch. And my parents were very generous with us kids. Really, so generous. And more often than not, we would get to watch the programs we wanted to watch. God bless my parents. I think they had to watch their fair share of bad programming because that's what we wanted to watch. But I have so many warm memories of sitting together in the living room and watching something as a family. There's a joy in sharing an experience together. But I also really remember the pressure of having to choose what you were going to watch. You know, more often than not, it would feel like there was nothing on, and then everything was on at the same time. So when the VCR came out, that was liberation. You could record one show and watch another. And then when the TiVo DVR technology came out, that was even better. And I don't even know how many people use TiVos anymore, but we have one. And we can record 4 channels at once. And there are times I am recording 4 different things at the same time. And more often than not, I have no idea when my programs air. I don't have to because TiVo knows. And then I subscribe to way too many streaming services. It just sort of becomes just something I do. At the moment, we have Netflix, and I will say that I am thoroughly enjoying the K-dramas, the Korean dramas. I know there are genres within the K-dramas, but K-dramas on their own are such a beautiful genre. If you've never watched one, I invite you to check one out. They have beautiful character development, and they take their time with the story. The stories are beautiful, and they have usually a lovely cast of different characters. We loved Extraordinary Attorney Woo. One of my absolute favorites so far has been Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha. Really, if you are looking for an enchanting show to watch, that one is phenomenal. Each of the episodes is about an hour and 15 minutes, so they're long, so you really get a feast. We also loved Crash Course in Romance, Crash Landing on You, and some others. So I don't know why I went on that little tangent, but we have streaming services, including Netflix, and I'm watching a lot of K-dramas right now. I periodically have Hulu, depending on what's airing. I do the Paramount Plus through Amazon Prime. So there's so much programming that in our household we have access to. And I just think this is a dream come true for childhood me. I loved television as a kid. And this idea that I live in this magical time when I can choose from so many different programs and watch them whenever I want to. On multiple devices is amazing. And I will have to say, I still love the experience of communal watching when I watch something with my husband. When there's something we want to watch together and we can enjoy it together. And there are so many programs that we do that with. We have a couple favorites. West Wing is always good. We love West Wing. We typically watch it every few years. We watch the whole series again every couple of years. We love Doctor Who, the newer ones. We love Call the Midwife, which is so beautiful. We love Miranda, which if you've never seen that, it is so funny. It's Miranda Hart's sitcom that was on the BBC or I don't know that it was the BBC, but one of the British broadcasting networks. And now we're watching Startup, which is a K-drama that we're enjoying. So this idea of communal experience is still wonderful. And I also love that I get to sort of choose on my own as well, because there are times that my husband and I like different programs. Right now he's binging all the old Perry Masons. And he loves them. And they're great stories, right? Someone does something bad and they get caught. Very simple. A bad person does a bad thing. They get brought to justice. A very simple formula, but also very fulfilling, because you know in the end, good will prevail. And I will also say, I think I have shared this with you before, I love reality television. And so right now I'm watching The Challenge which is the world champion. I think there's a new episode that just dropped this morning, so I know what I'll be doing in a little while. And I just read in social media that a new season of Project Runway All-Stars is going to be coming out in June, which I'm very excited about. So I still really enjoy television. It has been a constant throughout my life. And so I'm so glad that we get to flip through these TV Guide issues together and perhaps take a walk down memory lane. Perhaps you love television as well. You know, when someone says, I don't have a television, I don't watch television, I can appreciate that for them, but I think, wow, I could never do that. So here we go. We're going to go to Wednesday and let us see what is airing from the Wayback Machine. So as I shared in the last episode, we're in the end of December. So it's December 20th. And you know what? I have to insert a correction here. I've been saying 1979. It was 1978. Okay, not that that makes much difference, but I just want to be clear. I just want to be accurate. So it's December 20th, 1978. I'm sure I am home from school. We must be on winter break at this point. So let's go through this as if I would be watching daytime television as well. Now, I know for sure I would sleep in. As a teenage girl, there is no way I am up before 9 a.m. unless I have to work. So there are things such as Phil Donahue as an option. There's a lot of syndication happening, like All in the Family. But I'm going to go a little bit later in the day. Well, for sure the soaps. I will tell you how I always knew when I had to be awake by. And that would be because Ryan's Hope was on, which in Chicago, I believe it was on at 11:30. So I would be awake by Ryan's Hope, because again, we don't have a VCR at this point. Later in the day, again, we would flip through the different talk shows to see who had the best guests on. So let's see who our options would be here. So there would be the option of watching a Brady Bunch rerun, which was always good, but I think at, the age of 17 or 18, actually, if it was 1978, I'd be 16. I don't know that I would have cared very much. Dinah Shore salutes the city of Philadelphia with guests including Dick Clark, Joey Bishop, Ed McMahon, and Frankie Avalon. I would have cared about none of those people. Murph Griffin is from Las Vegas, includes Red Fox, singers Sergio Franchi, Tommy Rowe, and Marlene Ricci. Again, would not have cared about any of those people. So at this point, I think the Brady Bunch would have won out for me. There's also always good as a standby, a Gilligan's Island rerun. Gilligan and Mr. Howell stumble onto a gold mine. There's also Medical Center. I always loved some Chad Everett time, but I don't know that I would have done it at that age. Mary Tyler Moore rerun, $6 Million Man, Emergency One. All of those were always good to tune into. I Dream of Jeannie, My Three Sons. So this was like a glory day of syndicated programming, right? These were all the shows we grew up on and we feasted upon during our childhood. Well, now let's go ahead. Let's go into prime time. So there's a Jeffersons episode, George's Christmas Spirit, high when his old guardian visits, flags when he discovers the man's secret. I don't know what the secret is. I have no recollection of that episode. But you know what else is on is 8 is Enough, and that's what we would have been watching. I don't know. I loved 8 is Enough. It wasn't one of my favorite programs, but it seemed to always, it seemed to always be a good program to watch when it was on. So in this one, Elizabeth, played by Connie Newton, crams for tests to qualify for a dance scholarship to an exclusive Eastern school, while Tommy's plans of starting a ticket scalping business collapse when he loses his stake to a con artist. Oh, those life lessons. Those were hard. There is a Dick Clark Live on Wednesday, which includes the Beach Boys and Eric Estrada. Okay, I would not have watched that. At 8:30, there is a Good Times episode. So Keith's job precludes him from attending the family's traditional Christmas party, so Florida decides to bring the festivities to the taxi garage where he works. So I do remember watching that show, but I think in this instance we would have probably been watching 8 is Enough. And then there is a made-for-TV movie, which is weird. I recall this. Isn't that weird that all these years later I would remember this? This is A Christmas to Remember, starring Eva Marie Saint and Jason Robards and Joanne Woodward. I don't know why I remember this. It's a touching Christmas story set during the Depression. Jason Robards is excellent as David Larson, a Minnesota farmer embittered by the death of his only son in World War I. Larson blames God for his plight and has little time for man as well. Moody and haunted by memories, Larson has isolated himself from his neighbors. But it's his own wife, played by Eva Marie Saint, who increases his torment by allowing their city-bred grandson, Rusty, to visit for the holidays. I don't know why I remember this movie. I can't tell you anything about it, but I just remember watching it. The memory is a wonderful thing, isn't it? Also airing is a TV movie, Ishi, the Last of His Tribe. Or it might be pronounced Ishi. I think it's Ishi. A 1976 TV movie traces the life of the last Yahi Indian found in Northern California in 1911 and befriended by an anthropologist who learned his language and recorded his story from childhood through exposure to the white man to the cause of his death from tuberculosis in 1916. You know what's interesting about this? One of the reasons it stood out to me is when I worked at Pacific Arts, which was a home video distribution company. We used to distribute for PBS Video, and there was a documentary about this, Is She the Last Yahi, that I remember was so sad, so deeply moving. And so this stood out to me when I was looking through the pages of TV Guide. And then also, if that is just too real for you, we have Charlie's Angels. If we just really want to go completely in the other direction, Murder at a Racing Stable clues Sabrina to a crooked scheme to pull off a betting coup by switching twin horses. So at this point, Cheryl Ladd is in the cast, which means Farrah Fawcett has departed. Then at 10 o'clock, we can watch Vegas, which was always a good show because of Robert Urich. I always thought he was charming and attractive. So an abrasive tennis pro receives a threat: throw his next match or suffer brutal consequences. And this has the guest star of Randolph Mantooth. So this was good. You got Randolph Mantooth and Robert Urich. Two very handsome, magnetic actors. I would have enjoyed that probably. Ooh, on Mike Douglas. For some reason in this TV guide, they're showing you who's on Mike Douglas in the afternoon, but they're showing it at 11 p.m. as well. But Susan Lucci's on. I was probably watching All My Children at this point, but I don't know that I would have been excited about Susan Lucci. I would have been more excited about the actors who played Jenny and Greg. I don't know that they were on at that point, but I seem to recall somehow my teenage years and Jenny and Greg overlapping. And then on Johnny Carson on Wednesday night, we have Bruce Dern, Johnny Mathis, and Myron Cohen. And you know what? When I saw Bruce Dern was going to be on Johnny Carson, I thought, oh, you know what? I bet he was promoting the movie Coming Home, which was with Bruce Dern and Jane Fonda. And he was a Vietnam vet returning home. I just remember it being such a powerful movie. And it was released in 1978, so I bet he was promoting his movie. So now we're on Thursday. So again, I would be probably watching my soap operas. But in case you're looking for something a little different, let me tell you who's on Hollywood Squares on Thursday. Robert Guillaume, who we know from Soap and Benson, and he also was amazing in Sports Night. Paul Lynde, always the center square. Gary Mulder, who I seem to recall was a comedian maybe. Joan Rivers, McLean Stevenson, Priscilla Barnes, Sandy Duncan, Melissa Gilbert, and George Gobel. I don't know. I always thought Hollywood Squares was mildly amusing. There's also, again, a lot of syndicated programming, including MASH, Ironside. Who remembers Ironside? Again, with Raymond Burr, since I had earlier mentioned Perry Mason. He then went on to star in Ironside. It's so crazy how I remember these things. As we go into the afternoon, Dinah has Dodie Goodman, James Whitmore, Harrison Ford. So I would have been interested in that then. I would have probably watched it for Harrison Ford, because I believe that the original Star Wars was released in 1978. So I would have known about Harrison Ford by this point. But I don't know why Harrison Ford wouldn't be in front of Dodie Goodman, right? Well, they list people. So I don't know what was going on at that point. And if Harrison Ford is not compelling enough for you to watch Dinah, they also have roller skating dancers. You know, the 70s was such a great era for things like that. Roller skating dancers, acrobats, animal acts, things like that. If you wanted something else, on Merv Griffin, he had Orson Welles, which is always a good interview. And then a little later, you can watch Mike Douglas with co-hosts Jamie Lynn Bower and John McCook, who again I think are soap opera actors, are joined by Elke Summer and her husband, author Joe Hyams. Or else you could watch Mary Tyler Moore or The Bionic Woman or Emergency. We'll go on over, though, into primetime and see what's on Thursday. There is a made-for-TV movie called The Gift of the Magi. O. Henry's beloved tale of a newlywed couple who sell most of their cherished possessions to buy Christmas presents for each other. And it stars Debbie Boone in her acting debut and John Rubinstein, or Stein. And Debbie Boone, who remembers her song that she was so famous for? I'll give you a minute. You Light Up My Life. That song that played endlessly when it came out. But also airing would be a Walton's Christmas episode. The Walton Christmas episodes were always really, really good. In this one, Christmas Eve brings a howling snowstorm that blankets Walton's mountain and rudely separates the family in its traditional season of togetherness. It was first shown in 1976. Again, we might be inclined to watch it because there were no VCRs and we wouldn't have seen this episode in a long time. There's a Little Drummer Boy Book 2 cartoon that's airing. Oh, Mork and Mindy. Okay, so we would have been watching Mork and Mindy. It was one of the hot shows back then. In this episode, Mork, played famously and brilliantly by Robert Williams, decides to move out of Mindy's apartment when he thinks that he's infringing on her social life. And Mindy was played by Pam Dauber. I loved that show. Also airing is Christmas Eve on Sesame Street, which, as a teenager, I would not have wanted to watch. But Big Bird, aided by his Muppet and human friends, tries to solve the mystery of how rotund Santa Claus fits in skinny chimneys. You've gotta love the Muppets, right? Airing at 9 o'clock is Hawaii Five-0, which I don't ever remember watching. And Barney Miller, which we watched often. So we were probably watching Barney Miller. So in Barney Miller, the detectives have the unenviable task of guarding an escape artist, played by Roscoe Lee Brown, who has broken out of prison 5 times. This is an episode from 1975. And then, it's after that, a show that I loved at this time, and my husband and I just rewatched last year, which is Soap, which was so brilliant for its time, and it's still really funny. So in this episode, Jessica, played by Katherine Helmond, informs an adoring Detective Donahue, played by John Byner, that her feelings are mutual, and Elaine, played by Dinah Manoff, escapes from her kidnappers. I remember that plot because we just rewatched it. That was great. All right, at 10 o'clock, we have 3 good options. But I think I know what we would have watched. So first off, we have Barnaby Jones, which you might not think that teenage me would have cared about, but my dad liked it. And my mom did too. It was their kind of program. So more often than not, if there was nothing else compelling that us kids would lobby for, we would watch Barnaby Jones. So I have warm feelings about Barnaby Jones. So Barnaby, played by Buddy Epson, discovers a Hollywood murder committed to hide the theft of a movie print for use in a film piracy racket. Or, I know for sure we were not watching the next one, but it just delights me, so I have to share it with you. David Cassidy, Man Undercover. Now, I loved David Cassidy growing up, but I think by this age, I was no longer in such adoration of him, so I don't know that I would have lobbied hard to watch that. But in this episode, Dan, played by David Cassidy, goes after a physician who's pushing drugs to teenagers. I seem to recall the premise of this show was David Cassidy was posing as a high school student, but he was really an undercover police officer. I don't remember watching it. I just remember the show existed. And then, here's what I think we were watching. Family. I loved the show Family so much when it was on. So in this episode, disheartened by the prospect of Christmas without her parents, Annie, played by Quinn Cummings, decides to spend the holiday traveling on a bus. So James Broderick played the father, Seda Thompson played the mother, Christy McNichol played Buddy, Meredith Baxter Burney was Nancy, and Gary Frank was Willie. So it was a phenomenal cast. So just maybe a couple things about the cast. Quinn Cummings, she's actually phenomenal on social media these days. If you get a chance, follow her. She's on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. And she's funny. She's brilliant. Go give her a follow. You will enjoy it. I also loved Christy McNichol. I think I shared in the last episode that I wanted to be best friends with her. And this is just an aside. James Broderick, who played the father, was a great actor. He's Matthew Broderick's father. Just thought I'd let you know that. Okay, so that's probably what we were watching. And later in the evening, Johnny Carson has George Peppard as his guest. Or we could have watched MASH. I think more often than not, MASH would have won over Johnny Carson. We watched a lot of MASH reruns in our house, I seem to recall. All right, and now we have made our way to Friday. So in the afternoon talk shows for Dinah Shore, she has Robert Logan, Douglas Fairbanks Jr., Beth Howland, and Mary Lou Henner, and the Hudson brothers. Merv Griffin is still in Vegas, and he has Milton Berle, Joey Bishop, and Cheetah Rivera, and Andy Gibb, and Juggler, Chris Carmo. I would have probably watched that for Andy Gibb, I would imagine. I would have been interested in that. And of course a juggler, because there was always a juggler or fire eater or somebody like that on the talk shows back in the 70s. Okay, now it's Friday night, prime time. In all likelihood, I would be out with my friends. But in case I was home, here's what the options were for your viewing pleasure. Wonder Woman, of course, brilliant show. I don't know that I watched it a lot back then. I think my appreciation for Wonder Woman grew over the years. So in this episode, Wonder Woman's attempt to recover a stolen pot of gold is complicated by its owner, an uncanny little Irishman who insists he must find the gold himself. Well, that would always be an option. And I will say one of the stations of our mini cable options airs Wonder Woman, I think, on Saturday morning. So Wes every once in a while turns it on, and it's really funny. There is a Bob Hope Christmas special, because every year there was a Bob Hope Christmas special. I don't know that we would have watched it, though. But there is a special episode of 8 is Enough, and that would have likely won out. There's also a John Davidson Christmas special, which we would not have watched. But in case you care, he had Harvey Korman and Linda Lavin on with him. And in case you would have watched Bob Hope, his guests included Andy Gibb, Red Skelton, and Dionne Warwick. And if none of those were your cup of tea, we could watch Battlestar Galactica. A Cylon kamikaze attack leaves the Galactica severely damaged and Adama gravely wounded. Oh, I think we may have talked about this episode before. That may have been on earlier in the week. And then at the 9 o'clock hour, we could choose from The Incredible Hulk, Rockford Files, or 8 is Enough. Again, which would you choose? I think we would have watched 8 is Enough, although we did love Rockford Files. I was probably not home, though, so assuming that the kids were out, my parents would have watched the Rockford Files for sure. But let me tell you what was on each of those episodes. So for The Incredible Hulk, David, played by Bill Bixby, befriends an expectant mother who's planning to sell her infant on the black market. On Rockford Files, Rocky, played by Noah Beery, and that would have been James Rockford's father, gets in another jam, sending his son, the private eye, sniffing around a crooked sausage-making operation that's endorsed by a singing cowboy. Okay, how can you not love that description? A sausage-making operation endorsed by a singing cowboy. That's phenomenal. Or you could have watched 8 is Enough. And I guess this is a rerun of their 1977 Christmas special. But again, no VCRs. So if you didn't watch it the first time, you could watch it now. So on this Christmas show, first telecast in 1977, a thief, played by Will Geer, who also was Grandpa Walton, makes off with a Bradford's Gifts and station wagon, but that's only a sampling of their Yuletide, quote, blessings, which include Susan's all-night date, Tommy's depression over his mother's absence, and David's plans to spend the holiday away from home. And here's what's crazy about how programming worked back then. So there were these different options, right? So any one of those three shows probably would have been good to watch back in 1978. But you come to 10 o'clock and there's not a lot of good options. So there's a show on called Flying High, which I don't remember, but it's about stewardesses. back then. There's Eddie Capra Mysteries, which I wouldn't have wanted to watch, and a Perry Como special. So, wah wah, I would not have wanted to watch any of those. You could catch Fantasy Island in syndication, though, if you wanted to. Again, I was probably out with my friends. And Johnny Carson has Bert Convy and Marilyn Horne on. And then what comes next in TV Guide is an ad for the Columbia Record and Tape Club. Right? 13 records or tapes for 1 cent, plus shipping and handling. And in this ad, they're showing 8-track cassettes. So this was still a time when 8 tracks were an option. If you are too young to remember 8 tracks, what would happen is in the middle of the song, the tape would change tracks. So you'd be going along a song and there would be a click and a pause, and then it would switch to the next song. So that was a weird technology. And it says here, take your pick. You could get either the 12-inch stereo record or vinyl, an 8-track cartridge, a tape cassette, or a 7-inch reel-to-reel. That would be hardcore doing reel-to-reel. And how often would you go through this and decide which 13 you were going to get? I did that all the time. And also, as promised from our last episode, the television guide crossword puzzle, which I always enjoyed because it made me feel smart. So 1 across is dandruff. I'm assuming the answer is flake. Number 6, welcome back blank. Welcome back, Cotter. You got that one right. Number 13 across. WKRP blank Cincinnati. You got that one too. WKRP in Cincinnati. We're so smart. And then there's a bunch I don't know. So I'm going to skip the ones I don't know, because right now I just want us all to feel very, very smart. You might not get this one, but maybe you will. Singer blank Guthrie. Arlo Guthrie. So this is interesting. 11 across. Buddy Ebsen's role in 2 words. We just talked about this show. Do you remember? Barnaby Jones. It's okay if you didn't know that one. So this one isn't as fun. There's a lot of things I don't know, and I don't like that. I want to feel very, very smart, and TV Guide usually gives me that sort of delight. And then the other thing I really want to share with you is there is an ad. Again, this is December 1978. There is an ad for an Atari video game system. So they have an image of an old-timey television set, because that's what we were watching back then. And there's just this little pixelated image of 2 players, I guess, shooting guns at each other. So even back then, we loved our gunplay. And this is what it says. Don't watch TV tonight. Play it. Where are the games you play on your own TV set? Where are the Atari video computer system? Remember Pong? Well, that was just the beginning. Atari is now a sophisticated computerized programmable unit that hooks up to your television in a matter of seconds. Atari features a greater selection, 20 different game program cartridges, over 1,300 game variations and operations, with many more to come. We're sports games, we're mind games, we educate, we entertain. We can be played by one player against the computer, 2 players, 3 or 4. We're the system that's especially designed to change colors to protect and safeguard your TV tube from any damage. We offer crisper colors when played, of course, on a color TV. We pride ourselves in truer-to-life sound effects, which play through your own TV's sound system. We're Atari. And if someone in your family hasn't asked for us yet, get ready, they're going to. We had a Pong game. Do you remember when you would set the Pong up so that it would just bing bang against itself endlessly? That was our idea of fun back then. But this looks like this has 2 joysticks, 2 twisty knobs, and 2 little keyboard inputs. So this is very early days of Atari. And that brings us to the end of this issue of TV Guide. And I hope you are enjoying these episodes as much as I'm enjoying making them. And if you are, I have ordered 2 more old issues from eBay that we will go through together soon. But for now, my beautiful friend, I send you so much love and gratitude for this opportunity to spend this time with you. I wish you the sweetest of dreams. I wish you a good rest. And I am deeply, deeply grateful for the gift of you. Thank you.